Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live event with Hermit Woods Winery and Deli. We have been taking you around the world for the last month and a half, and tonight we are thrilled to be taking you a little bit closer to home, right here in New Hampshire. We're thrilled to have Bob and Chuck and Ken from Hermit Woods on the line with us tonight. And we have Chad from our wine marketing team as well. We're here to answer any of your questions that come up. I'll be sharing questions and comments with the guys tonight while they present to you, and wait until you see the wines that they have ready. And Bob has quite the spread of local accoutrements that pair perfectly with wine. So we're thrilled to have this event for you tonight. Stick around until the end. There's going to be a little trivia and giveaway. So Bob, please take it away. Let's get started with some wine. One second, everyone. Bob is just on mute. I think he's just having some trouble unmuting. Oh, here he goes. Just one second, everyone.
Caroline, if you would, please. This is Ken, and my video is being blocked. If you could bring that up, please, that would be great.
Oh, you got it, Ken.
Thank you.
All right, everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. So everyone, this is modern wine tasting. You know, sometimes the video won't go on, sometimes the audio won't go on, but the wine is worth the wait. So here we go.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having Hermit Woods Winery and Deli on your program this evening. We really appreciate the partnership that Hermit Woods Winery has with the New Hampshire Liquor Commission. They carry our wines on their shelves and are a great partner, make a great effort to introduce local products to New Hampshire and abroad. I mean, and the visitors to New Hampshire. So thank you so much for that. And I look forward to this evening with you. We have a lot to cover. I hope I can get through this in an hour. We're getting lots of great food to share. And we call this 90 days around the world, but today, we're gonna do it around New England today with all these lovely foods. We not only craft some nice wines here, we have a deli where we share foods from all over the New England area and craft some really nice presentations for people. So I'm going to share a little bit of that as I go. Before I get into the food or the wine, I just want to take a moment to introduce you to my partners, Chuck and Ken, who are here with us today, and tell you a little bit about our background. We often joke that a pilot, a geologist, and a photographer started a winery. Those were the three careers that each of us have come from. I was the photographer, Ken the geologist, and Chuck still remains a pilot today. And the three of us came together as friends many years ago, long before we opened the winery. And as friends, we began exploring a mutual interest in a hobby that we had together, winemaking. And we took that exploration to an extreme, to the point where this hobby of ours really got out of hand. We were making an awful lot of wine in our basements and our living rooms and wherever we could put a container. So it got out of hand, and we decided in 2010 that we needed to take this to another level. And that's when we decided to become a commercial winery in New Hampshire. And we have a lot of other wineries to thank across the state who helped us get to the point and educate us and teach us the things we needed to know to go down this path. And we have to thank my wife, who agreed to allow us to convert my master bedroom into a tasting room. The original winery was on Taylor Road in Samberton. I simply told Geraldine that if she allowed me to turn her bedroom into a tasting room, I would fill her whole basement up with wine. It wasn't long before we were starting construction on the new tasting room. So that is what we did. We converted the downstairs of my house into a wine making area. Ken he's really the winemaker here. Chuck and I have taken part in the process since the very beginning, but the real brains behind these wonderful wines is Ken and his science background and his creativity and art as well. And so we opened to the public in June of 2011. We called ourselves Hermit Woods because we were a mile away from a forest in Meredith called Hermit Woods. And that forest is called that because a famous hermit lived there in the 1800s. His name was Joseph Plummer. Joseph died in 1862. And if you hike into the woods of Meredith, you can still discover Joseph's gravestone. It says right on it, Joseph Plummer, the Hermit of Meredith Hill. And so we took that name because it gave us a sense of place. We were so close to that forest, and it was a very well-known forest in Meredith, and there's a lot of other businesses and localities named after Hermit Woods. So that's how we got our name. We got our snail logo. We didn't want Joseph donning our shirts and our bottles necessarily in the beginning, so we thought a snail would be appropriate. A snail is a critter you might discover in the woods of Meredith, and is also a critter that represents the slow process that making wine is. So that's how we became Hermit Woods with our famous snail here. We grew our business in our Taylor Road home for 3 years until we really proved the concept, and we realized that we had a product that people were interested in, and we took that to the next level when we purchased this building here in Meredith in 2013. We then remodeled the building into what it is today, or some version of it, and opened to the public here in February of 2014, and have been growing our winery here ever since. We opened our deli in this location in 2017. We're going on to our 4th year as actually having a deli, and our deli serves, like you see in front of me here, charcuterie and cheese, and also paninis and salads and other types of sandwiches and light lunch type foods. We're open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're only closed 2 days. We close on Christmas and we close on New Year's Eve. We produce about 5,500 cases of wine annually, and we make that wine available pretty widely across New Hampshire. Thank you again to the Liquor Commission for that. And we also are in small shops around the state as well. We also make our wine available across the country. You can order directly from our website in 38 states around the country. So if you're looking at us or enjoying this from afar, you can order wine online. So that's a little bit about our history. I don't want to take up too much time with that. Before I get into the tasting part, I always like to start with a sort of a little primer on how to best appreciate the wine that is in your glass. And so we're going to taste 6 different wines. Each of the wines you see here are on the shelves in the New Hampshire liquor store. And if you signed up through Zoom today, you're going to get an opportunity to get a coupon for $3 off of these wines in your local liquor store. So I hope you take advantage of that. Go out and get yourself a bottle if you haven't tried it already. But before we taste each one of those, I've got a little bit of wine in my glass. And I want to talk about the things that we might go through to really try and understand and appreciate this wine. The first thing we usually do is we like to sort of hold it up against a white background and observe the color. Color is very important, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about this, but color will tell you lots of information about the wine and help you better understand what it is you're drinking. One of the main things you learn about color is the age of the wine. Wines usually start out very bright red, and as they age, they form more of a brick color that gets that transitions more into that brick color the older it gets. So we look at the color, and then we often look at clarity. That's also very important in wine. And so we'll hold it up to the light and see how the light goes through. This wine's nice and clear. And then we swirl the wine. A lot of people think you swirl the wine because it looks cool. And that's a perfectly good reason. If you're at a party and you want to show you know what you're doing, you can swirl the wine. But the real reason you want to swirl the wine is you increase the surface area of the wine on the glass, which involves more volatile gases escaping from the surface, filling the globe of the glass up with the aroma. And that is critical because your nose is over half your taste buds. So if you don't really appreciate how the wine smells, you're not going to appreciate how it tastes. So take a few moments to swirl and smell, and don't rush this. Take some time to think about what it is you're smelling. Put some names to it, because that's how you learn. That's how you remember what it is you liked or don't like based on the aromas. And you're informing your taste buds about how that wine is about to taste when it gets into your mouth. So after you've swirled it and smelled it, you want to put the wine in your mouth. Chew it around. You want to expose your whole mouth to that taste. Your taste buds are all over your mouth. Plus, Mouthfeel is an important aspect of how, whether or not we enjoy a wine. So by exposing your entire mouth to the wine, you'll get an understanding of how it feels in your mouth. And you'll also fully appreciate all those nuances and flavors that you're experiencing as you do it. And then you swallow the wine. And then we often suggest at the end, you take another sip and swallow that sip as you would if you're drinking it at the table. And then you breathe in and breathe out through your nose. And you get what we call retronasal. The smell sensors on the back side of your nose perceive smell differently than on the front side of your nose. And that retronasal will allow you to understand smells that you didn't get on the front. It takes some practice. You might not see those differences right off the bat, but if you do that often enough, you will start to notice nuances in the aromas that you didn't pick up on the front, and you will become better articulated to talk about what it is you're experiencing in that wine. Sorry for that. So those are some of the things to think about. I would suggest that you should do that with every bottle of wine that you open. Take 5 minutes or so and really try and understand what that wine is about and how it tastes. And the more you do that, the better you're going to get at it. So we're going to do that with each of the wines that we're going to open today. And before I open my first wine, I just want to see if there's any questions out there that I can answer for you before we move on.
So Bob, not a question, but I did want to let you know we have somebody watching on Facebook Live from England. So we are literally around the world tonight.
Oh, fabulous. Thank
Are your
you.
wines available in Europe at all?
They are not, and someday I hope that they actually will be. And in the same way that we're able to ship our wines around the country, I hope we're able to ship them to countries afar. Meredith, where our business is located, is a tourist town, and we get people from all over the world visiting us here. And it's really fun to share our wines from people from around the world, especially from those people from France or Italy or some of the wine regions of the world, because those are really the heart of wine from way back when. So the early European wines. So anyway, the first wine I'm going to open today is our Hermit Hard Cranberry Apple Cider, and you will find this in the liquor store. This is what it looks like, and I'm very pleased to say that just recently they took our cans as well. The Hermit Hard Apple Cider is available in cans now, so you'll see the bottle and the can on the shelf. We're going to open the bottle today, but this is our most popular cider by far. Since we put it in a can earlier this year, I think it's become our most popular product. It's really been flying off the shelves. Don't you love that sound? So this is our cranberry apple cider, and I'm going to pour this in a little tulip glass. Now, all that work I did to teach you about swirling, now forget about that. You don't want to swirl a sparkling wine. You really want to enjoy that sparkle. If you swirl it, you're going to blow all those sparkles away, and they're going to float out of the glass. The nice thing about sparkling wine is the CO2 does the work for you. It is rising up out of the glass and bursting into the air, and as it does, those volatile gases get exposed to the glass, and then you can smell it, and it smells lovely, absolutely beautiful, very floral, very fruity. It's a really nice aroma coming off the cider, and you would want to put some cider in your mouth, chew it around a little bit. You're going to get your flavor that way. You really get the effervescence as you're chewing it around in your mouth. It's just like sparkling in your, under your tongue, and so you really get the full flavor when you chew that sparkling wine around, swirl it around your mouth a little bit. And so this cranberries, this is made from cranberries from Cape Cod, and it's and apples from Apple Hill Farm in Concord, New Hampshire. And it's got this really nice blend of the apple and cranberry, both in the taste and in the nose. You can pick up both. And cranberries are quite tart. So this finishes with a really tart finish. You can really almost like tannins in the back of your mouth. And so to balance that tartness, there's a little bit of sweetness on the front. So you get a nice, light, fruity character on the front with a little sweetness, and that sweetness disappears as the wine goes down your throat, and you're left with this dry, tart character, which invites you back for another sip. Very refreshing. I suggest you serve this nice and cold. Ideally, on a hot summer day, the colder you can get it, the better. It's really going to be enjoyable and refreshing. It drinks beautifully by itself, but cider is also a nice beverage to accompany some foods. I have a wide variety of different foods. Let's talk a little bit about that and maybe try some of the cider with something here and see how it goes. Now we're going to try each wine with one of the different foods on the plate here in front of me. Some are going to work better than others. This is really about giving you the opportunity to make this exploration on your own at home with your own wines and your own food. In the same way we just experimented with I'm going to try a piece of salami here. I'll talk about what this is in a second. But you want to smell your food too. You smell it and understand how it chew it up in your mouth and understand how it feels in your mouth. So you want to go through that same experience with the salami. And once you've chewed some in your mouth, you put a little bit of the cider in your mouth with the salami and chew the two together. And let's see how salami and Hermit cranberry apple cider taste in our mouth. Wow, quite surprisingly, that's very good. I wasn't sure how that was going to go. I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't have picked that one, but it's spicy. So the spiciness in the salami doesn't overpower the tartness in the cranberry. So the two actually go nice. It pulls out some of the spiciness. I can pick it apart a little bit better as I'm chewing it in my mouth. So you really want to take the time to explore that when you're pairing your foods. If you pair your wine and your food well together, both your wine and your food are going to taste better. And so you want to make sure to get it right. If you pair your wine and food poorly, one of them is going to suffer. You're either going to lose the wine and it's not going to taste so good anymore, or you're going to lose the food, or maybe even both. So if you spend good money on your wine and you spend nice time making a nice meal at home and you pair them wrong, you're going to ruin the experience. So be careful. Make sure you're pairing your wines with the right foods. So the salami goes very nice. That salami that I just tried it's a Genoa salami from Fortuna's. Fortuna is a Vermont salami company. They make absolutely amazing meats, dried meats. And we sell a variety of these in our deli. We also serve them at the deli on our charcuterie boards and in other forms. So if you're interested, you can look them up on the web. She's providing a link. I believe Carol Ann is going to put links up to all of the different foods we're trying tonight, and that way you can find these. If you can't make it to Hermit Woods, you can find them elsewhere. I'll talk a little bit about a couple other things on the plate here. We have some Brie from Vermont, Vermont Brie. This is the best Brie I've ever had. Absolutely love it. We've tried a few different varieties of Bries. They've really done a nice job. And then there's Grafton Cheddar. I'm sure many of you have heard of Grafton Cheddar. It's pretty widely available. They're in southern Vermont, and they do a great job. They have a dozen different flavors of cheddars and other types of cheeses. We're going to do their 2-year cheddar today. And while we're on the subject of cheddar, we have the really aged cheddar. This is a wonderful company out of Sugar Hill. Really aged cheddar cheese. They're Harmon's Cheese. They have a little shop in Sugar Hill, New Hampshire, a little tiny shop. If you haven't been up there, you should absolutely go. It's beautiful up in the mountains, and they have so many just wonderful cheeses. So we use their really aged cheddar here tonight. And then we have Creme Fraiche, another Vermont creamery company. And let's see. Oh, and some of the sauces. If you haven't had Waz, unbelievable. Waz does such a great job. They're out of Bethlehem, New Hampshire, and they've been making these beautiful sauces and mustardas and other things that we use in lots of our different foods. And so we have the balsamic fig mustardas on the plate today. That's what you see right here. And then we have the cranberry orange cognac sauce that's in the creme fraiche right here. So really nice. Check out Waz. And then we got some crackers from Castleton Crackers. This is out of Vermont as well. These are the Ale House cheddar crackers. And if you haven't tried Blackwater mustard, fantastic. This guy, he's quite the character. He's making mustard down in New Hampshire, south of Concord, and we love it. We have about 8 of his different mustards, and he makes a mustard with our crabapple as well. So we have a crabapple mustard that we put in some of our sandwiches. So those are some of the fun foods. I don't want to forget the Loon Chocolate. We're going to have our dessert wine with Loon Chocolate tonight. This is a Loon. If you haven't had Loon Chocolate, it's just amazing. They are one of the only, if not the only, chocolate company that actually brings the beans to New Hampshire directly from the farms around the world and makes the chocolate from the raw ingredients here in New Hampshire. So great guy. I suggest you check them out. Oh, I don't want to miss this. We just got Cucina Kitchen. She's a wonderful lady. She's making these olive oil blends down in southern New Hampshire. And we got a chance to meet and spend some time with her the other day. She's been fantastic. We ordered a whole bunch of her product. It's on our shelves now if you want to try it. Really great to partner with some really great food purveyors. So that's enough, a little bit of selling of our food here. Wanted to make sure to shout out to all of these great food producers around the state. So we love local. That's really what we're about. We're producing local wines from local ingredients, and we really want to support the local community. So it's really important. So anyway, I'm going on. I need to move on. I'm going to put that glass over here. We're going to take another glass and open up this 3 Honey Gold. This is a mead. So Hermit Woods produces wines, meads, and ciders. And this is a mead. 3 Honey Gold is made. We call it that. We use 3 different honeys to source this, and that's not going to work. And we age this. It's a show mead, so it's 100% honey. There's honey, water, and yeast, and then we age it in French oak for 12 months. So we get a nice oak character to it. Oh, there's that sound again. We love that sound. Oh, making a mess. And so this is got some nice tannins, some nice dry character from the oak, and really lovely. You could really get some nice honey character in the front. It's interesting. It's almost wine-like. It's in some ways it's more like a white wine than it is a mead because of that nice oak, that dry oak finish. But it's creamy, and we'll smell it. We get some of the oak on the nose, and lots of honey. It's just lots of wonderful honey notes coming off of there, and like a field, like going through a meadow or something like that. It's just delightful. It's bone dry, 0% residual sugar. A lot of mead makers make meads in varying degrees of sweetness, but we really prefer drier wines here at Hermit Woods. So you'll find most of our wines lean on the dry side. This is 100% dry. There's no residual sugar. You may perceive what might seem a little sweet in that it's honey, and honey suggests sweet, but it is definitely 100% dry. Remember, chew it around in your mouth, get that full expression of its flavors, and then breathe in and exhale and see what you get on the backside of that as well. So that's our 3 Honey Gold. We also have a wine we call 3 Honey Wine that is available in the wine shop that is not aged in the barrel. So for those of you who don't like that oak character, you can try the 3 Honey, which leaves the oak out of the equation, and it's a little cleaner, and you get more of the honey character coming through. Also really nice, but that's not in the liquor store. The 3 Honey Gold is in the liquor store, and again, if you signed up for the Zoom, you're going to get a coupon to buy $3 off to buy this bottle. So that's our 3 Honey. We should try this with some food, and I think let's see, we talked about what was good. I think we'll try this with some prosciutto out of Vermont. This is the Vermont Prosciutto company called Vermont Salami, and I haven't actually had this before. This is the first time. We just got this in, and Deborah, our chef, was kind enough to put it on the board today. See how it, oh, that is good. Very good. And another win. This has got some smokiness to it, and that smokiness goes really nice with the oakiness from the mead. The two flavors complement each other in my mouth, and it's a really nice experience. So take the time to do that. You want to make sure to see how your wines pair with your foods before you serve them together. So, any questions while we're switching wines here?
Yes, Bob. So some of our viewers are curious. So you started off as a winery. How did you start getting into meads and ciders?
Actually, we were making probably in the beginning, making more meads than we were ciders. And actually, I could hand it over to Ken to talk a little bit about that, because Ken is
Sure.
he actually had the beehives on his property that made our first mead. So why don't you take that, Ken?
Yeah, sure. It actually got started many years before we got into wine, was in brewing beer. So I started off in the early 90s brewing beer and really enjoyed that process, still enjoy that process and that product type category. And then I got very interested in mead and started making a wide variety of meads. And when Bob and Chuck and I got into classic Vitis vinifera based wines from grapes that we were importing from California and from Chile, I certainly hadn't forgotten about mead whatsoever. And as Bob said, I had set up beehives in my backyard here, and so that I could get fresh honey and use the native yeast and reflect the terroir of our space. So when we got into our commercial adventure, we incorporated and included mead from the very beginning. It's a prominent part of what we craft. The property that I live on also has a large range of apple trees, and we have some friends who are into making hard cider and regular sweet cider. So each fall we would collect apples from our various trees, and we get together at our friend's house and make sweet cider. And I would take that back, this was before the winery, and start crafting cider, sizers, which are a blend of honey and apples together. And so we've included ciders throughout with our endeavor with Hermit Woods as well. So it's a multi-dimensional component. And I don't know if this was clearly mentioned up front or not, but all of the wines that Bob is sharing with you that are offered at the liquor store and in our shop are not based on grapes. These are based on ingredients, materials that grow really well in this area. So we're trying to see what our environment brings to the glass. We're trying to use classic approaches, French oak barrels, full skin maceration and fermentation, trying to develop wines that pair well with foods that, as Bob mentioned, have a dry sort of character like most classic wines do, but they're made out of the fruits and vegetables and flowers that grow really well right here in New Hampshire.
Thank you, Ken.
Ken, can I just ask a follow-up? This is a question for me. Are your meads still made with the honey from your property?
They are not, unfortunately. It has scaled up, and my little beehives couldn't keep up with the demand. I got the opportunity to reach out and interact with a number of beekeepers in the area, and Troy Hall over in the western side of the state in the Connecticut River Valley has been our primary supplier, and we get varietal honeys from him, as well as a mixed wildflower and early season honey for our meads.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Bob, excuse me. One other question. Somebody wants to know what you would suggest for building an ideal charcuterie board for the holidays.
Oh, well, there's so many choices. There's so many wonderful choices. First of all, I do suggest that you try and work with some of your local purveyors. There's a lot of wonderful food being produced all over New England. And if you can access some of those local ingredients, it will make it all the more interesting for your family to be eating foods that's made and grown and produced right here in our backyards. So the best charcuterie board is one that has nice shape and color and a variety of flavors. So I would always suggest you try and identify a couple different types of meats, Charcuterie is a French term for the word meat, if you weren't aware. Dried meats, that's what charcuterie means. And so you'd want to have a selection of a couple dried meats to include on your board. Try and mix it up to include a variety of flavors. And then the same with the cheeses. Choose 2 or 3 or 4 different types of cheeses that both offer different texture as well as different flavors, so that you can mix it up and really experiment and taste lots of different varieties of things in your mouth. It's nice. We always include some type of sauce. This is the fig mostarda, and sometimes nuts or pickles to you can kind of cleanse your palate with something that's a little tart. We have a nice little creme fraiche here, so some soft cheese. It's mix it up between soft and hard cheeses to different textures. We also included a mustard. Mustard gives you a nice tart flavor, and then you can build from there. Once you have these varieties of flavors on your board, start assembling little combinations of them to see how they go together in your mouth, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then just before we move on to the next wine, just one more comment from here on Zoom. Tracy just left a comment congratulating you on all the medals behind you. And for those of you who can see, they're behind me too. Bob and I are not really together though. He's actually in the tasting room.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate it. The most important medal for us though, absolutely, is that you enjoy the products that we craft for you. That's what's most important. It's nice to get those medals for sure, but what we really love is when we share our products with the public and you tell us that you enjoy them and that you have them in your home. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. I'm going to move on. I put that glass over there. I got a different glass. I should mention. Glassware is important. I'm not going to go deep into this because this is a whole session all by itself. But I use a different glass for different wines, and I'm going to move to a larger glass, the one actually that I originally was showing you about how to swirl. The larger glass is typically what we use for red wines, and I'm going to use this to present our next wine, which is our Petite Blue. And this is widely available. It's our most popular wine. It's our most famous wine. This wine had the opportunity when we went to an event in New York City in 2014. We got a chance to share this with Ray Isle, the editor of Food and Wine magazine. We were very excited about that, and Ray seemed to enjoy the wine, and he enjoyed it well enough that several months later he called us up and asked if we minded if he shared our wine with Kathy Lee and Hoda on the Today Show. And of course we said, please do. And we're also pleased to say that Kathy Lee and Hoda both enjoyed drinking our wine on their morning show. Also, a few years later, our Petite Blue Reserve was called out by Food and Wine magazine as the best craft beverage in New Hampshire. So again, furthering its fame as our most famous wine. And most recently, we were so excited when last June, Oprah magazine did a story on the one thing that you shouldn't miss in each of the 50 states. And Oprah suggested the one thing you shouldn't miss if you visit New Hampshire would be Hermit Woods Winery and their Petite Blue Reserve. So I'm really very, very happy and proud to talk about this wine. And this is a wine crafted 100% from wild Maine low bush blueberries. However, it drinks very much like a Burgundy. So there's 1.25 pounds of blueberries in every single one of these bottles. So there's a lot of really great, wonderful fruit going into these. And if you're familiar with the low bush blueberries from down east, they're those little tiny berries that grow about 6 inches off the ground. You need a lot of berries. I think we go through 25,000 pounds of these things every year in order to make all of the wonderful wines we make with blueberries. So this is but like I said, it drinks like a Burgundy. So it's not sweet. Often people think blueberry wine, oh no, it's going to be sweet. No, this is not sweet. This is, it's almost bone dry. It's just shy of bone dry. It's less than 0.25% residual sugar. And the sweetness is there merely to balance the wine, to make sure we balance the tartness in the wine. It's not there to make it sweet. We really do prefer a drier wine. It goes better with food that way. So, and I mentioned the reserve. So we do 2 Petite Blues. Petite Blue is aged in stainless steel. we're really trying to preserve the fruitiness on the Petite Blue. So it is really light and fruity and easy drinking. And then the Petite Blue Reserve is aged in French oak for several months to add some tannin and some dryness. And it appears or drinks as if it's a drier wine. It's actually the same residual sugar, but because of those added tannins, tannin comes from the skins and the stems and also from the barrels, the oak barrels themselves. So by aging the Petite Blue in barrels, we make a little bit drier product. So some people like a drier wine and they'll choose the Petite Blue Reserve, and some like the lighter fruitier. Today is the lighter fruitier. This is our Petite Blue. And I tasted it a little bit earlier with you, but taste it again. Oh, it's just absolutely wonderful. The fruit just jumps out of the glass. And that's what I love about all of Ken's wines. He really preserves the character of the fruit and the ingredients that go into that wine. Yes, they become something else and as wine, but the essence of those ingredients exists in both the smell and the taste in every one of the wines, and it makes each wine stand out very uniquely and very differently from each other too, which is really wonderful. So we're going to smell it and then. And again, very light. In the beginning, you get that fruitiness. You almost feel like as it first hits your mouth that you might perceive a sweeter wine, but then those soft tannins from the little skins. We like to use the little blueberries because the berries are so small, we have a higher skin to juice ratio. And the skins of grapes are really thick. And it's easier to extract tannins from those thicker skins. So to get the tannin out of the blueberry skins, it takes a lot more work. And so having the smaller blueberries gives us a higher skin to juice ratio and gives Ken more to work with to get those soft tannins that we like in the finish on a Burgundy or a Pinot Noir, if you will. If you're not aware, Burgundy, the region of France where Burgundy is made, is the Pinot Noir is the grape of Burgundy. So we don't often compare this to a Pinot as much as we do a Burgundy because it's not as much like a California Pinot. It's more like a French Pinot, which would be a Burgundy. Let's try this with some food. I'm going to try this with, I'm going to go with a lighter cheese. I think the cheddar might be a little overpowering for the wine. It's a very light and fruity wine. So let me try a little piece of this this Brie cheese and see how it goes with Brie. So put the food in your mouth and chew it a little bit. Such a lovely Brie. I'm sorry, my mother always told me not to talk with my mouth full, but it's really hard to do this presentation without doing that, so I apologize. Excellent. Goes very well together. The cheese doesn't overpower the wine, and the creaminess of the wine blends nicely with the creaminess of the cheese. I'm going to try a piece of cheddar just to see if my assumption was right, that it might be a little strong. This is especially a really aged cheddar, so it's really a very pungent cheddar. It's actually not bad, but it is true. The cheddar does dominate my taste bud. So I lose some of the lovely light fruitiness that's coming from the Petite Blue. So I definitely think the lighter cheese, the creamier cheese is the better choice. So again, experiment. When you're at home, try your wines with several different types of food with different textures and different flavors, and you're going to have a different experience, and you'll be able to decide for yourself. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a chef. You'll know what you like. So have fun and explore. So that's our Petite Blue. Again, it's widely available and coming soon. We're so excited. On Friday, Petite Blue is going to be our first wine put in a can. And that is the label. Isn't that cool? We work with an artist out of New York. She does a children's book series called The Lunch Witch. And she did the artwork on our cider. I should have mentioned that too. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. She did the artwork on all of our cider. And she also wrote the wonderful stories like Hermit hard cranberry apple cider, no trespassing unless buying. That's from our Hermit. So we asked her to take the Petite Blue and come up with its own version in the can. So there it is. So you'll be seeing these on the shelves, hopefully maybe someday in the liquor store soon. We don't know yet, but we got to get into a can first. And it'll certainly be available starting this weekend at the winery. And maybe someday we'll get it behind the Petite Blue in the liquor store as well. We'll see. But very excited about that. So that's our Petite Blue. Do we have any other questions, Carol Ann, before we
Yes.
go further?
So Karen here on Zoom just wants you to know that she loves the Petite Blue. It's amazing, tastes better than grapes. And then Paul on Facebook is wondering if your blueberry wines are as versatile as a French Pinot Noir. Would they go well with grilled salmon and pork, for example?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. And actually what makes them even more versatile is the Petite Blue and the Petite Blue Reserve. So you have sort of two options. I would say for your pork, you're going to want to go with the Reserve. You're going to want a little bit more tannin, a little more dry and grippiness in your throat, and that's going to pair nicely with the pork. Again, it's going to have to do with how you prepare it, the sauce you use, the spices you use. I can't really tell you that. You have to decide. So maybe you have to get them both and try them both side by side. I don't know. But yes, absolutely. This is a wine that drinks like a Burgundy and pairs with very many of the same types of foods that you'll pair a Burgundy with. And trust me, we have tried this. In fact, we had a really fun time. We had a presentation we do a video every Monday of our, we make some presentation every Monday. We call it In the Cellar with Ken Hardcastle. If you want to join us, it's at Facebook Live every Monday at 4. And we recently compared one of our Burgundy-like wines with 5 other Burgundies from around the world. And it was really fun. It was really cool to see that our wine was capable of holding up brilliantly with some of these world-class wines made in France and California and South America. So yes, I think you'll find that it will be quite versatile and go well with pork and salmon. Anything else?
Yeah, just one more before we move on to the next wine. Tracy here on Zoom is wondering if you have any unoaked white wines.
We do. We have a couple different options. We have a lightly oaked. We use oak. We have a wine we call Lake House White. And oak is, we're not looking for oak so much in the flavor of the Lake House White as we are structure. So Ken uses oak in the fermentation process to build structure in the wine. And maybe I'll hand it over to Ken to talk a little bit about the Lake House White. It is one of our premium wines and it's absolutely lovely. So take it away, Ken.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking of, a lot of people will often think of Chardonnay and think of a typical buttery malolactic fermented oak aged Chardonnay being very oaky, very sort of heavy, and as opposed to an unoaked Chardonnay, which has become more popular in the States, but has been the way elsewhere for many decades. And our Lake House White fits more with the old world style, where the oak is there to support the fruit, the aromatics, and provide structure to the wine, but it is not a dominant character of it. Our 3 Honey wine, as opposed to the 3 Honey Gold, is unoaked as well, and drinks a bit like a semi-dry Riesling or Chenin Blanc. Is quite lovely. So we do have a variety of other white wines that are made without oak or provide that sort of character.
Thank you, Ken. Caroline, any other questions before we move on to the next wine?
No, Bob, we are good to move on. Exciting.
All right, great. So the next wine is our Winnipesaukee Rosé. This is has fast become one of our most popular wines. It's nipping at the heels of our Petite Blue. For a couple reasons. One, it's a beautiful wine. Ken's done a really wonderful job blending cranberries from Cape Cod and apples from Apple Hill Farm and these Kingston Black cider making apples that he includes whole fruit in the ferment. So we get some nice tannins from the skin of the fruit. And and just crafted this really lovely rosé, which drinks very much like a, maybe a Southern Provence style rosé. Slightly sweet on the front, so we would call this a semi-dry or a semi-sweet rosé. And again, we're not looking for sweetness in the finish. What we're looking for is balance. And because cranberries are quite tart, we need to balance that tart finish with a little bit of sweetness to create a good balance and a nice finish in your mouth. Also special, it's called Winnipesaukee Rosé. As you all know, if you live here in New Hampshire, Winnipesaukee is our most famous lake. It's the largest lake in New Hampshire, and we have the luxury of being just a couple hundred yards from the Winnipesaukee. So we decided to name this wine Winnipesaukee Rosé, and we're pleased to say a local artist, Stephen Hodecker, did the artwork on the label. And as a result, he did that for two reasons. One, to contribute to the label, and because this was a project that supported a local organization, the Winnipesaukee Association, the organization that supports the health of our lakes. They protect the watershed here. So we give 10% of the sale of every bottle of Winnipesaukee Rosé to the Winnipesaukee Association to help keep our lakes clean. And we care about that because we use that water in our wines, and because the lakes are what brings people to our area. So this is, if we don't take good care of our lakes, we won't have people coming to visit us here. So this is a good cause. So every bottle, 10% helps that cause. And that's why Stephen Hodecker donated the artwork on the label. It's a watercolor by Stephen Hodecker. So this is a rosé. Drinks like I said, very much like a Provence wine, Southern French. And I'm going to use a little bit smaller glass, a white wine glass, smaller than the big bowl of the red wine glass that I offered earlier, and give it a swirl. It's got similar aromatics as the cider that I shared earlier. It's got, because of similar ingredients, the cranberries and the apples, they come together. You get both of those on the nose. Really, I love the combination of that cranberry and apple together in my nose is producing all these interesting smells. I unfortunately am not really good at putting names to all of the wonderful things that come out of there. There's where Chuck comes in. He's got the golden nose. For some reason, Chuck can seem to pick out every single nuance of smell and put a name to it with ease, and I'm jealous, actually.
I don't think I've ever been called the golden nose before.
It's the first time for everything.
If I remember, Bob, too, when we did a tasting with a number of our rosés, that went exceptionally well with that really well-aged cheddar cheese.
Well, let's just give that a try. Mm. Mm. The nice thing about rosés, especially this rosé being tart, it's going to go with spicier foods, go with richer. It's a little counterintuitive. It's a lighter wine, but that tartness will hold up to some big flavors. Nice to go with a Thai food or an Indian food or something like that, where you're going to have some spice and you need something that can cut into that. The two things that work is the tartness, and a little bit of sweetness helps cut some of those spice flavors too. Mm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think I'll just have to pour myself some. I'm just kidding. No. All this food, I just want to eat it. So we'll go slow. So this is very nice. Ken is absolutely correct. Those two flavors, that's the best pairing actually that I've had so far. A couple of them have been nice and kind of okay, but this is perfect. The wine just gets so much nicer, and the cheese together with the wine, it's beautiful. So highly recommend it. So before I leave the rosé, I want to remind you of a couple things. We're very excited that rosé is also available in sparkling. You cannot get the sparkling version currently in the liquor store, maybe someday, but you can get the sparkling rosé in the bottle here at the winery. And the artwork on this was Stephen Hodecker's sister. We're very sad to say she passed away with a hard battle with cancer. And we did this label in memory of his sister, and we've written about her story on the back. And it's a beautiful painting of it's one of her last paintings of Lake Winnipesaukee. So that's our rosé. sparkling. And we're also really proud to say, and I wish I could share with you, but we're going to let this be a surprise. We have the rosé sparkling coming in a can on Friday, and we have the most amazing label coming in to our cans. I cannot wait to reveal it, but I'm not going to reveal it here tonight. You're going to have to wait till Friday, but it'll be available in our tasting room this weekend. And again, maybe someday we'll have that in the liquor store as well. But really excited. We're exploring cans. The reason we're getting more into cans is, like I said, the lake is right here. We have a lot of boaters coming over in the summer, and boaters would much prefer to have a can on their boat than a glass bottle. Much more convenient. And so on that note, I should mention, did I mention? Yes, I did mention we have canned cider as well. So that's our Winnipesaukee Rosé. Any questions, Carol Ann, before I go on to the next wine?
Yes, Bob, but before we get to the questions, I do want to mention, so over the summer, we had a great sale going on, the Keep It Local sale, which highlighted all of our New Hampshire brands.
Thank you for that.
I just need to tell you, almost every single day, we were getting questions and comments on social media asking about the Winnipesaukee Rosé. Is that included in the sale? Is it in stock at this store? Where can I get it? So that was great. The people of New Hampshire seem to love the Winnipesaukee Rosé. So everybody go give it a try. Those of you watching on Zoom have a $3 coupon. So you have no excuse not to try it. It's awesome. And Chad, I was wondering if you could tell everybody on the line what we have going on with New Hampshire brands right now.
So currently we have a promotion going on for New Hampshire brands. We kind of kept the Keep It Local theme going after the whole summer promotion, and we decided I think for the foreseeable future that for any 3 bottles you purchase, you get 10% off of all New Hampshire wines and spirits.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome. So great deal there on all New Hampshire wines and spirits. And hey, let's go. Let's have more New Hampshire wines. Bob, what do you have next for us?
All right, thank you. Hey, just curious, would that 10% go on top of the $3 coupon?
Oh, yes, it would.
It would
also qualify, yeah.
So really make your money work for you on this one. So we'll put that glass aside. We'll go to another one here. We're going to stick with a white wine glass. We're going to have our Crabapple wine. We used to refer to this, we still refer to this, it's our signature wine. This is a really fun wine. We crafted this. So there's this story, you know, if Ken was to tell it, it might be a little different, but I'm going to tell it right now. This is the wine we're having. It's our heirloom Crabapple wine. And so Ken and Chuck and I really became fast friends mountain biking. And Ken was coming over early in our getting to know one another to go on a mountain bike ride. And he's riding up my driveway and he sees this beautiful crabapple tree with bright red crab apples on it. And of course, Ken can't really help himself. So he stops and decides to have a bite of one of the apples. And within a moment or two decided that there's no way that we could go on a mountain bike ride tonight. We've got to pick this tree and turn these crab apples into a wine. And so that's what he came to the door and he said, that's it, Bob, we got to change our plans. They're ripe. They're ready to be picked. We've got to pick them tonight. So I think we tried to call Chuck up and get him to come over and partake in the fun as well.
Oh,
and,
I was there.
Yeah, good. So we picked, I don't know, 2 or 3 5-gallon buckets of these crab apples, and Ken worked his magic over the next few weeks and turned these into a wine. And it was so wonderful. And right off the bat, we knew we were onto something special. These crab apples made such a wonderful wine. And so we did some research and we learned that these crab apples were called Dolgo crab apples. And they originally brought over to America in the 1800s to add flavor to the cider that they were making back then. So they're an heirloom cider making apple that Ken has discovered makes a really fabulous wine as well. They went sort of out of favor. Cider went out of favor in the late part of the 1800s, early 1900s, and of course, Prohibition really knocked cider off the market. So it's taken 100 years or so for cider to become important again in our American palate, and I'm glad to say that it is. There was a low point in the apple world where there were fewer than 3,000 varieties of apples in the world, and you might say to yourself, "Wow, that's a lot of apples." Well, There's now, or there was, when cider was popular, upwards of 7,000 varieties of apples that we had to choose from back in the 1800s. And we're getting back to that now. We're researching, people are researching old apples in the woods and trying to bring them back to life again because cider's become more popular. So very exciting. So Ken produced this wonderful wine. It's an heirloom crabapple. It's 95% crabapple, 5% blueberry. The blueberry is there mainly for color. We found that as Ken would filter the crabapple in preparation for bottling, it would strip that wonderful color. Crabapple didn't fix color well in the bottle. And we want, color's important. Remember, we talked about that earlier. So Ken realized early on that if he added a little blueberry, we would get that color. Blueberry fixes color really nicely. And Ken also finds that the blueberry, just that hint of blueberry adds a nice nuance or character to the finish of the wine that you wouldn't get otherwise. So it works for two reasons, but mostly crabapple. Dolgo crabapples, you've probably seen them around. They're decorative trees all over New England, and you'll see them. We have a couple here in the park in Meredith that oftentimes contribute to some of our crabapple wine. And it's hard to find them in farms. They're not farmed that much anymore. But we are fortunate to have a couple nice connections. Stone Mountain Farm started an orchard down on Route 106 in New Hampshire, and they did it very, very generously agreed to plant 75 Dolgo crabapple trees just for us, for the making of our wine. We're really pleased about that. And so they have a wonderful orchard down there, and they've been great partners in the production of this wine. So swirl and, excuse me, swirl and smell. So stylistically, this wine is very much like the rosé that I just had. It's got that little sweetness on the front to balance the tartness of those crab apples. As I'm sure you know, most crab apples are quite tart. So you get that really dry, mouth puckering character in the finish. You need a little sweetness to balance that out, but it finishes dry, pleading with you to please let me have another sip. And you'll want to have another sip. It's just really so enjoyable. It's just a lovely taste. And this crabapple wine also, as we said, we're getting into canning. So you can have our sparkling version of the crabapple wine in a can. These are really dangerous. Chuck can attest to that. Each can is a half a bottle of wine. And when you're out on a hot sunny day and these are chilled down nicely in your cooler and you crack one of these open, look out, because that's a half a bottle of wine is 13% alcohol. So quite dangerous. Right, Chuck?
Drink in moderation.
So be careful with the crabapple in cans. Same with the Petite Blue. We also have that in a bottle. So if you like a more classic style sparkling wine, you could get the crabapple in a bottle as well. So really nice drinking, easy drinking. In the summer, I suggest you actually, it's the rare wine, I would tell you, pour it over ice. It's so rich in flavor and so tart. You could put a couple cubes on it and it's going to retain that nice bright flavor and be very enjoyable on a hot summer day or on the hot deck. Also in the winter, this is your holiday wine. There is really, in my opinion, no better wine to go with your turkey dinner. It works wonderfully with turkey and goes with all of the wonderful fixings. It acts like an intermezzo, kind of like your cranberry sauce. It freshens your palate up between bites. So it's a great accompaniment for holiday meals. So that's our crabapple. So would you have any questions, Carol Ann, before I go to the next one?
Yes, we do. Karen on Zoom would like to know if your tasting room is open right now.
At this very moment, no. We close today at 5 o'clock, but we are open 7 days a week. And the only days of the year that we close are Christmas and New Year's Day, with the exception of, sadly, the beginning of this year, we had to close because of COVID, and we hope that that will not happen again. And we'll continue to be open 7 days a week for forever, till I'm not around anymore.
Awesome. And Chelsea would like to know if you're offering any gift baskets for the holidays.
Oh, great question. We are. In fact, we can build a gift basket for you, or you can build your own. We have these lovely baskets. They hold a couple bottles of wine and a variety of other things that you could select from our deli counter or gifts around the shop, and put together whatever type of basket you think would be appropriate for your loved one or your family. So yes, thank you for asking. We're running out of time, so I want to get through this last wine. And then if you didn't know, we're going to do a trivia question. So I hope you've been paying attention, because after I finish this wine, I'm going to ask a couple questions. And the first person that comes in with the answer to those questions is going to win one of our nice Hermit Woods wine keys, which we will send to you in the mail after the presentation. So hope you were paying attention. Changing glasses again. This is our dessert glass. It's a nice little petite glass. It double serves. It serves as a nice petite glass where you can serve a small amount of dessert wine. And it also is a nice glass for a small sampling of our sparkling wine as well. So it serves two purposes. And I'm going to serve our deep blue. This is, it's got to be one of Ken's nicest wines when it comes to dessert. It's just absolutely fabulous. It takes the richness of those blueberries and just doubles down on them. There's actually a pound of blueberries in every one of these little bottles, and this bottle's half the size of the other one. So it's just lots of pure, luscious blueberries going into the production of this wine. And I could tell you a story if we weren't on the TV on the computer here with the Liquor Commission. I'd tell you some fun stories about how this came to be, but I think I shouldn't tell you when we have the Liquor Commission here. So actually it's kind of fun. We stumbled upon this wine sort of accidentally early on in our career. We sort of inappropriately made this in a way that's not quite allowed to do, but I won't go into the details, but nonetheless, it taught us what we needed to know to figure out how to craft this in a way that was legal and appropriate. And that was by adding lots of blueberries. So this is really a high fermentation of a large concentration of blueberries, no water added, just blueberries, and enough sugar to get to 18% alcohol. So this ferments out to 18%. And so it drinks kind of like a port, kind of like a ruby port, a young fruity port. And you're going to get that real nice fruitiness, but you get the port-like character as well. And it's just a lovely wine. It's got again, this carries through the same kind of nose you get on the Petite Blue. Those blueberries just really have this nice fruit nose. You get the port-like character on the nose, though. You get that little higher alcohol. You can taste the heat a little bit. Just the right sweetness, not overly sweet. I don't know, Ken can probably say, I'm sure he can. I think it's about 4% residual sugar or something like that, right, Ken?
That's correct, yes.
So it's not overly sweet, but it's just sweet enough to pair nicely with your sweet dessert. And so this is your finishing. I always joke at the end of my meal, a lot of people like to switch to coffee. Not me, I like to switch to wine. So I like to have a nice dessert. I also have a Deep Blue Reserve, which is terrific. Chuck deserves a lot of the credit for the creation of the reserve. And I won't go into the details, but he did some research and discovery on our Deep Blue that allowed us to realize that if we age this in an oak barrel for 3 years, it's only going to get better. And Ken and Chuck also helped us understand the little oxygen on this wine would be good for it. So we actually age it in barrels without topping off and allowing it to oxidize a little bit and really mature nicely. And so the reserve is a nice option to try as well, but this is the lighter, fruitier version. The reserve is more like a tawny port, and this would be more like a fruit, more like a ruby port. And I'm going to try this with the Loon Chocolate. Really nice, nice bitter chocolate. This one actually is the 72, but this chocolate I'm going to try it with is the 75% chocolate. Lots of bitter character that's going to balance nicely with the sweetness of this wine. So I can't wait to put the two in my mouth together. Sorry.
So Bob, this is your dessert wine, but we do have somebody watching who is curious what types of desserts you would suggest pairing with the blueberry wine.
Absolutely. First of all, I wouldn't go with an overly sweet dessert. If it's a little too sweet, it could like I said, this is only about 4% residual sugar. So if it's too sweet, it might overpower the wine. But I would like to actually a nice slab of blueberry pie made from low bush blueberries, wild blueberries out of Maine, with a little dollop of French vanilla ice cream on top. You get the tartness in the pie, it'll balance nicely with the wine, and that French vanilla, you get a little bit of that in your mouth, it'll add some creaminess. So that's where my head goes. I think cheesecake though, a nice piece of cheesecake with some blueberries on top, really nice way to go with a deep blue. But experiment. I'll bet you there's a lot of combinations of desserts. Sadly, I'm not a big dessert person, so usually I pair my deep blue with deep blue. So I skip the dessert part altogether and just enjoy the wine. So any other questions before we wrap up?
Somebody has asked what tonight's code word is, so I'm going to just go ahead and share that. So for those of you playing along with our Passport app, you can earn 100 points for attending tonight's event by entering the code word, which is boutique. So tonight's code word is boutique. If you have any questions about the Passport app, maybe you're not playing yet because you have a question about it, please go ahead and leave a comment on Facebook, chat here on Zoom. I can help you get the app onto your phone. It's really easy to earn points for attending our events and for answering, like we have trivia as well leading up to events. So it's really easy to earn enough points to get you entered for the $2,500 gift card to our stores.
Excellent.
So thank you. All right, Bob, back to you.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, this has been a real joy. I've really enjoyed spending the last hour with you, sharing our wines, sharing some of the wonderful food that we're creating here. And Chuck, Ken, and I are often found in the tasting room especially on the weekends. Ken during the week making wine down in our wine cellar. Lots of exciting things going on here at the winery, so I hope you can come visit us. We're in the process of creating an event space and a listening room on our 3rd floor. We're going to be doing live music here and making space available for events. So lots of exciting things. I could go on for hours. I really just love talking about and sharing our wine with you. But I do have to respect your time, so we're gonna bring this to a close, and I'm going to do that by asking you a couple trivia questions, and the first one to respond in the comments or the chat with the correct answer will be the winner of our beautiful Hermit Woods wine key. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what is the name of the hermit of Hermit Woods? If you were listening, I revealed it earlier, so if you can remember, he's quite famous if you live in this area.
Joseph Plummer.
Oh, so we have a winner.
Congratulations, Karen. Karen, I'm going to put my email address in the chat here on Zoom so you can email me your address and I will get it over to Bob.
All right. Thank you, Karen, for playing along with us today. The next question I'm going to ask is, what is the actual name of the apple that we use to make our heirloom crabapple wine?
This is a tough one.
Somebody got it.
It's great fun because I see the answers flashing up on my screen, and there are some correct ones there.
Looks like Larry is our first one to answer correctly.
Dolgo, yes, and that is also what we've called it in our cans. So if you see a Dolgo can, you know that it's our crabapple wine. Very good, Larry. Thank you for playing along. We have one last question. This is a tough one. How many blueberries does it take to make Petite Blue in a 750 bottle?
Does anybody know that?
We did say it. It was, the answer was given earlier. Somebody knows it. I'm sure somebody knows it. Chuck, don't you? You know it. I know you know it.
I want to win. I want to win.
All right, we've got one. I believe the answer is 1.25 pounds, right?
That is correct.
All right, Paul, it's you. Congratulations, Paul, Larry, and Karen.
All right, thank you guys. We will, once I get your addresses, we'll package one of these nice wine keys up and send it off your way. You also, if you're on Zoom with us today, you'll get your $3 coupon. So head down to the liquor store and buy 3 wines and you'll get 10% off. So really make your money go far for you. Please support your local wineries and food purveyors and businesses around New Hampshire. There's a lot of hardworking people out there that are trying to make a go of it during a very difficult time during this time of the pandemic. And we, and I know all these other folks that put this food together for us, really appreciate your support and thank you for that. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Carol Ann and the Liquor Commission for having us on and letting us share our story and share our wines with your audience.
It was our pleasure. And just to kind of close things out, Chad, would you mind sharing what we have going on for tomorrow? We've got another great New Hampshire winery tomorrow night too.
So tomorrow night we are featuring Lewis from Sweet Baby Vineyards. We have Lewis back in the summertime, and tomorrow he's going to go through a few more wines for us and tell us what other new items he has coming up.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. We hope to see more of you tomorrow night as we kind of end our local spin for the week. Friday night, we will be traveling back to California. So it's been great being here home in New Hampshire all week long. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's presentation and all of our other New Hampshire wineries this week. And don't forget to download your app and get 100 points for tonight. We will see you tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.